Hello, I'm Jennifer, and welcome to the Krewe Japan podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture.
This time on Krewe of Japan podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Listeners, I have been on a personal mission for years trying to get an episode about being vegan in Japan. It's a very tricky lifestyle to keep in Japan, which is why I think I was having such a difficult time trying to find someone willing to speak on the topic. I am happy to share with you that I have finally found someone who can share their knowledge with us. We welcome Leonore of itadakihealthy to the show to share her expertise in what it's like to live in Japan as a vegan. I found that this topic would also help those of you who may want to visit Japan one day but hesitate due to the possible challenges. We were able to discuss what it's like to keep a vegan lifestyle on a daily basis.
If you have an address in Japan, you can of course do online delivery. I know there are many people ordering off Amazon as well. We have Rakuten, and I think there's also like a vegetarian site where you can order some vegan and vegetarian items. So yeah, you can definitely order online as well.
How leaning towards cooking your meals can help.
For breakfast, you can easily buy oatmeal and just soy milk and prepare it. So you don't really need a full kitchen.
The hardest challenges of being vegan in Japan.
The plum onigiri, for example, or the seaweed onigiri, it doesn't list fish extract. So I found out by contacting the customer service and asking them, hey, is there any katsuo dashi in this product? And they said yes. But according to labeling law in Japan, they don't have to list all the ingredients. And what they write on there is just flavoring.
And so much more. We hope this episode opens more doors during your Japan travels and even help you make crucial decisions about your trip, like where to stay and where to eat. And if you yourself are not vegan, maybe you'll want to check out the vegan scene in Japan and support the businesses that are trying to serve the vegan community. Ready to learn about vegan lifestyle in Japan? Let's get started.
Thinking about finally learning Japanese, but worried you'll end up just mumbling arigato or konnichiwa forever? Don't worry, NewOrleansJapaneseLessons.com has you covered. Classes are led by Romi Sensei, a native Japanese speaker with over 20 years of teaching experience. She's been teaching online since before it was trendy. 2014, baby! Plus, her classes are super small, 6 people max, so you'll actually get to speak and get real feedback, not just sit there quietly wondering if you're butchering the word ramen. Romi Sensei's lived in New Orleans for over 15 years, and personal friends of mine have taken her classes. They seriously rave about how fun, clear, and downright awesome she is. Why keep telling yourself, I'll start learning next week in English, when you could just say it in Japanese and actually follow through with it at the same time? Check out NewOrleansJapaneseLessons.com, that's lessons with an S, and get started today. Are you new to the crew? Yokoso! We hope you enjoy this episode. If you like what you hear today, then you'll really love our back catalog of episodes from earlier this season and previous seasons. We've had some incredible guests, like YouTuber Shinishimine of Tabi Eats, revealing Japan's best ramen. Travel expert and YouTuber Ryotaro Sakurai discovering Miyagi Prefecture. JLPT N1 certified Walden Perry on Japanese self-study strategies, and so much more. After you finish up this episode, hit that subscribe button or follow or whatever it is, and get notified when new episodes come out. Then while you wait for the new episode to drop, play catch up with the crew. But before you do any of that, let's dive into today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Krewe Japan podcast. Today, sadly, Doug will not be joining me. He could not get the kids in bed on time because we are here doing a late night recording here in New Orleans with our guest from Japan. And listeners, you know I have been trying to do a request from like season 1 or season 2, and we're in season 6 now. So I have had so much difficulty trying to get this episode going. But finally, I am getting to your request. We got a request from a listener that said they wanted to do an episode about vegan food in Japan. And I understand that is such an important topic. I really wanted to cover it. So I'm happy to announce that I have found a certified vegan nutritionist in Japan. You may know her on social media as Itadakihealthy. Very cute name, by the way. So, Leonore, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So, just give us a brief introduction of you and your services and life in Japan for you.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. I'm Leonore and I'm from Germany, but I have been living in Tokyo for a bit over 10 years now. So when I moved to Japan, I was already vegetarian, but then 2 years in, I decided to become vegan. And I learned the hard way because there are no resources about how to be vegan in Japan. And of course, the question everyone asks you is where you get your protein from. So it's no different in Japan. So I decided to study and become a vegan nutritionist and build my own business, which is called Itadakihealthy. I do Instagram, but I also do coachings for people since 2021.
That is awesome. That is so exciting, especially coming from someone who had a position at a job where I worked with college students. And as the years were going by, more students were vegan and needed that attention while in Japan. So it was really important for me to understand how to help my students while they were in Japan. So once again, so happy you're with us today.
Thank you so much.
Before we take the deep dive into the topic of today, we usually jump into our first question for our guest is to share their connection to New Orleans if they have one, like a fond memory or a funny moment. And for guests who have not been to New Orleans, when you hear the word New Orleans, what do you think of?
Thank you. Yeah, I have to admit, I've never been to America yet, New Orleans, and I've never thought about it until I got the invitation to this podcast. But since I'm a foodie, the first thing I always do if I'm about to travel somewhere is looking up the food scene. Check out vegan restaurants, and I found that there's a lot of veganizing Southern cuisine into vegan food, as I said, and I would really like to explore that food scene if I ever go to New Orleans.
I definitely know America. We're very much into the vegan scene, and so you will have no problems here.
That's great. So I should book a flight.
Well, to get into our topic of today, first, I kind of want to go back to the beginning of your journey. How did you initially get interested in Japan and inevitably brought you to Japan? Because something about being vegan, you would think going to Japan would be a big turnoff. So I'm very interested to know, how did you get interested in Japan and why were you determined to go to Japan?
Thank you. So I will try to keep it short.
Of course.
But of course, it's a long story.
Yes.
So basically, I'm a 90s kid, right? And
90s
I
kid.
grew up,
Woo!
and I grew up on anime such as like Sailor Moon, Pokemon, Dragon Ball, like the OGs. Yay.
Yes. Perfect.
And yeah, I loved anime, and I started to draw my own manga and such. But this wasn't the main reason, right? So I was always interested in that cultural aspect because by watching anime and reading manga, you get to know a little bit about the Japanese culture already. And even though there are many fantastic adventures, you also learn about like the ghost beliefs and the feudal area in Japan. Like I absolutely love Inuyasha.
Me too. That's my favorite. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, same.
My listeners know I'm a big nerd. Love anime, love manga. So my listeners are probably like, "Oh my god, Jennifer is doing it again."
Well, I can't blame you because I absolutely love Takashi Rumiko sensei. She's a great mangaka, and Inuyasha is one of my favorite. But the first manga I started reading was actually Ranma, and Ranma is also a gem.
It is.
And so I started to draw manga myself, but didn't really think about Japan as a whole. So my father is a classical pianist, and he teaches university students about classical German music.
Oh,
And
okay.
many of his students are from Asian regions such as China, Japan, Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And one of his students invited him to, well, teach a little bit of his piano magic in Japan in her own school. She opened in Shinjuku at that time. So my father started going to Japan every year for about 2 weeks. And once he felt confident, he invited the whole family, so my sister and me and my
Oh, that's
mother,
so
to go
nice.
to Japan the first time. Yes, so I was 16 when I was in Japan the first time. And it was, of course, overwhelming. It was amazing. It was very different from what I thought, but also not too different. And it was a really, really great experience. I have to say, I wasn't a foodie back then. I didn't like Japanese food at all. We ended up going to like family restaurants to eat this not really good pizza because I just didn't want to eat soba anymore.
Yeah.
That changed later. But yeah, it was a great first experience. And then before joining university, of course, I had to settle on a subject. What do I want to study about? So I thought about, hey, why don't I learn more about Japan as a country, like the Japanese language and history and culture and such? So I did. And yeah, I studied for a while. And during my studies, I decided to explore Japan besides tourism, right? Because if you study about a whole country, if you are just a tourist 2 weeks, just going to the hotspots like Tokyo, Kyoto, you can't really know about the real life in Japan.
Yeah.
So I decided to take a gap year. And I was very lucky and I found work in the countryside as an au pair babysitter
Oh,
for a
nice.
2-year-old American boy who was living with his family in Obusemachi, which is close to Nagano, but it's like the
Mm-hmm.
countryside. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And it was great. I was early 20s, of course. It was the countryside, so there's not much exciting things to do in terms of like, drinking parties, whatever, what you do when you're early 20s. But I had the opportunity to really learn about Japanese life. Right, I was staying in a share house. I learned Japanese firsthand by pointing at things, asking "Kore nani?" What's this in Japanese? Because back then, 2011, we didn't have, ChatGPT and all these fancy tools. So I
No, we
actually had
sure
to
did
learn the
not.
hard way. Yeah, and after that year, I decided, okay, I really like Japan. And once I graduate, I want to try make a living. And after my graduation from university, I moved to Japan. That was 10 years ago. I didn't have a visa. I didn't have a job. I just had a little bit of savings I earned when I did my student job.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't have anything. And it did work out somehow. And now, 10 years later, I'm still here, going strong.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, it has been a journey, but I really enjoy living in Japan.
That's good. Yeah, obviously.
And yeah, so the vegan part came later. I didn't have any strong connections to being vegan at that point when I moved to Japan. But as I mentioned earlier, I was vegetarian because half of my family was vegetarian before.
Okay, okay. Well, and to shift into today's topic, in general, how do you feel about being vegan in Japan? How easy is it for you on a daily basis to handle your meals and like snacks? Do you feel like being in Tokyo makes it much easier to live like a vegan lifestyle compared to other places in Japan?
Yes, very good question. To answer the last question, yes, Tokyo and bigger cities such as Osaka and Kyoto are very helpful. So it's very easy to be vegan in that regard.
Mhm.
If you go to the countryside, there are few restaurants, of course, and it might be a little bit difficult if you don't have any opportunity to cook. So for myself, because I'm used to it, it's very easy for me. So I
That's
do
good.
cook. I know what to buy. I know what I avoid buying. I know where to go. I know how to ask in a non-vegan restaurant. I know my way around and veganize as much as possible for myself. But I do speak some Japanese. I have the experience living here. So I can imagine, because I was there at one point as well, that if you visit Japan or it's the first time being in Japan, it's very overwhelming. You're not really sure, are you overstepping boundaries in this culture? Because you're a visitor, you don't really want to make a fuss and things like this. And especially the language barrier is also there. I guess it really depends whether you're just visiting for a short time or if you start to live in Japan. The latter makes it a little bit easier, in my opinion, because you probably have a kitchen and you can go back to the basic staples and cook.
Definitely. And I mean, nowadays, people are booking share houses, people are booking Airbnb or like privately rented places. So I feel like definitely if you are vegan, it's probably much easier now than maybe years ago to get a place that has a full set kitchen where you can utilize it and make your own meals. So that's probably a plus for traveling nowadays.
Yes, it definitely got easier. Speaking within 8 years of being in the vegan scene in Tokyo, at least, I could see a lot of improvement in that way.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, the only thing that is very sad is that sometimes there are new vegan products, new vegan restaurants, and then a couple of months or years later, they vanish, they disappear. So that's happening a lot too, unfortunately.
Okay. And in your opinion, what is the best option, both financially and accessibility wise, for keeping to the vegan lifestyle in Japan? Like, is it going to the grocery and like doing the cooking on your own? Or, is it easier to just search for restaurants that are vegan friendly? Especially for like visitors. A lot of our listeners are either already went to Japan, plan to go again, going for the first time. So they have the option to like rent places with kitchens, but also I'm sure they're going to want to go out. But what do you feel like is probably the easiest for them to do?
Good question. The best advice I can give on that topic is to have like a mixture, right? It depends where you are going. If you're staying, as I said, in bigger cities such as Tokyo or Kyoto, there's an abundance of vegan restaurant compared to the countryside. So if you could plan ahead accordingly and check the area you're staying in, are there places to eat breakfast or lunch and dinner? If you want to save money, think about, okay, can I maybe eat breakfast at home before I go out for the day? What do I need? What do I eat for breakfast, right?
Gotcha.
For breakfast, you can easily buy oatmeal and just soy milk and prepare it. So you don't really need a full kitchen.
Yeah.
But I think planning ahead and having a mixture of maybe Airbnbs or kitchen available hotels might be the best way to go.
Okay. Yeah, that is fantastic advice, actually.
Good. I'm glad.
So, one of the things that I feel is going around on the internet, something that's widely known when going out to eat in Japan is that is appropriate to order from the menu as is. Like, it's not common to alter whatever food it is that they have on the menu. Like, do you feel this is like the case from your experience going out to eat? Or, have you found that places are starting to be more accommodating to people's needs? Is there a request that you feel they're going to be able to do that accommodation for you?
Yes. So in general, I would advise not to go to a non-vegan restaurant as a vegan and expect them to accommodate. Right?
Okay.
In the Japanese culture, of course, they're also very proud of their cuisine. It's a great cuisine.
Yeah.
So it is very difficult for them to imagine to alter the food. And of course, taking out certain ingredients will be difficult, such as the fish extract, dashi. So it will be very hard to do so. And that's why I recommend to do some research beforehand, look up vegan restaurants or maybe places which are maybe like organic, because those places might be able to accommodate just a little more. But in general, I do not recommend asking for changing the meal.
Yeah.
I did make a Japanese like vegan card so you can communicate to the staff, which shows what you are not eating and what you can eat or what you are eating. but it will be very difficult to communicate this. As you mentioned, people do not really understand veganism. They, of course, think about allergies first, but sometimes they don't even consider ingredients as animal-based, such as fish dashi. So it will be very hard for them to accommodate.
I can definitely see how dashi is something that is just impossible to get around.
And it's so deeply ingrained in their food culture.
It
So it's
is.
difficult to request without it.
Yeah, because like as something as simple as like, oh my gosh, that everything has dashi almost. It seems like, yeah.
Even if you order a tofu, a slab of tofu, it usually comes with fish flakes on top.
Yeah, you're right.
So you can adjust things. Don't expect them to alter the price for you. You still have to pay the same amount.
Oh,
But
of
if you,
course.
but if you go, for example, to an izakaya, right? They do have dishes like edamame or like tofu. So you can ask, can I have this tofu without katsu flakes? Or is the edamame, is there anything on top? So this will be possible if they have something on the menu, like the side
Yeah.
dishes. So I sometimes just make an own meal entirely out of side dishes. This will be okay, but if you do ask for a modification, make sure to be polite as well and don't expect them to understand it. So if they serve the tofu and it still comes with katsu, don't be angry.
Yeah.
Just tell them, oh, I'm very, very sorry, but I cannot eat. Can you please give me one without katsu? And then maybe my vegan card comes in handy to
Yeah,
make them
exactly.
understand.
So, on the flip side to that, when it comes to cooking your meals in Japan, do you feel the grocery stores in Japan are enough, or do you have suggestions for like online delivery?
Good question. If you go back to the staples, like non-processed foods such as, well, fruits
Of
and
course.
vegetables, beans, tofu, it will be very easy. And it is also very cheap. However, there's not much in terms of meat alternatives. You would have to go to kind of like bio markets to find some meat replacements, which are actually vegan. I myself use a lot of tofu as meat replacement in that sense, but even then you have to make sure if it's a tofu product which is very processed, there is a small chance that it does contain animal ingredients because tofu and soy is not meant, as we know in the Western world, as a meat replacement. It is a food staple in Japan.
Oh, you're right.
If you find tofu sticks or soy snacks, always check the ingredients because it doesn't mean it's vegan friendly only because it's soy.
Wow, that's a good point. Because I know, like, here in America, like, we have Amazon. You can easily get anything off of Amazon. Does Japan have anything like that for, like, visitors who are doing long-term stays?
If you have an address in Japan, you can, of course, do online delivery. I know there are many people ordering off Amazon as well. We have Rakuten, and I think there's also like a vegetarian site where you can order some vegan and vegetarian items. So, yeah, you can definitely order online as well.
If you're going the cooking route, you definitely want to make sure you have options. I mean, I would hate for anyone to suffer through eating the same thing every day. So,
No worries. You will get creative. And of course, with me being a nutritionist, I always want to make sure that we have a somewhat balanced meal. So I do focus more on actual, ingredients such as, sorry, I only have the Japanese word yasai. Vegetables. Here we go. So I only focus on vegetables and really good ingredients in that way. Well, I do have the same 5 meals I cook most of the time. I think we all do.
yeah.
But they're tasty. So you have to relearn your cooking when you're in
Yeah.
Japan because you will not have access to the same things you have access to in your home country.
You're right.
So
Wow. Yeah.
So I would recommend Googling, of course, Google some recipes. If you can read or speak a little bit Japanese, Google in Japanese. There are recipes. So, of course, we have Translate as well. So if you can Google and translate, just do some research when you live here, what you can eat.
And I know in America to eat vegan, it's kind of expensive, not gonna lie. But how do you feel about it in Japan? Like, do you feel like it's expensive to keep that kind of lifestyle, or do you find it's fairly easy money-wise to keep up with it?
It depends.
Mm.
If you go to a restaurant every day, obviously it's going to be more expensive. If you order all these expensive meat replacement products you are maybe used to eat every day, then it's going to be expensive. But if you focus on the non-processed foods, such as tofu, vegetables, beans, any kind of other soy products, then it will be cheap. So I have to admit, I'm very cheap in that regard. I don't want to spend too much money on things. I know vegetables and fruits can be expensive in Japan. There are differences in prices depending on the supermarket you're going to. Make sure to choose the cheaper supermarkets. My absolute favorite is Gyomu Super. Which Gyomu Super has a lot of cheap things, imported foods as well. They sell very cheap gnocchi. I love gnocchi, so one of the foods I'm making every week is definitely gnocchi. They also have very cheap vegan bolognese pasta sauce, which I use when it has to be quick. They have frozen foods as well, like frozen vegetables, which can be very helpful. Nutrition-wise, they're also good. You can, of course, buy a big pack of frozen broccoli and just store it and use it. So make sure to check the prices. It might cost a little bit of time, but your wallet will thank you. And you might have to split how you shop, where you shop as well, because sometimes the best price for beans might not be in Gyomu Super, but in another store, right? So make sure to find out where the cheapest price is.
Good point. Yeah. I mean, not even just for price. You might like want something that is at one supermarket, but it's not at that one and you have to go to another one. So, yeah, even like having the ingredients, you might have to go to multiple places.
Yes. But of course, if you have a Gyomu Super nearby, then you're in luck. It's great. I love Gyomu Super. They should sponsor me.
Well, I hope they do.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that I think about when I hear vegan is just like challenges. Like, what are some challenges that we have not covered yet that you can discuss that you face when having a vegan lifestyle in Japan? And how would you recommend people to face these challenges?
That's a good point. I think once you got around and finding places to eat and cook by yourself, and once you master all that privately, I think socially it's still a long way to go. If you say you're vegan, of course, in the Western world, people will also say, like, oh, why? And so on. But it's more socially accepted in a way. People understand veganism. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But in Japan, the term veganism is not really widely known yet. Many people ask me if I don't eat meat for religious reasons, because of course they do know the monks in Japan, they refrain from eating animals, right? The Buddhist monks. So that's why their logical step is, oh, okay, you refrain from eating animals because of your religion, right? So of course I explain this is not the case. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. It's an ethical lifestyle, right?
Right.
Of course, I have to say, as a foreigner in Japan, people do tend to accept it more easily if you say, I'm vegan, because they say, ah, yeah, well, I guess that's what foreigners do. Whatever. You do you. So I think as a Japanese local, if you're vegan, it will be even harder. So if you, for example, live in Japan and if you have a job, if you go to an office every day and if you have your colleagues who are non-vegan, it will be the same as in the Western world in terms of people ask you questions and may ridicule you a little bit, make fun of you. And they might ask you, hey, you want to go lunch with us? And then you have to start thinking, oh, okay, what do I do? Should I go and not have any lunch? Or can we, talk? Can I find a place where there are vegan options and we can all go together? So I think socially, there are challenges, definitely. And of course, it's up to each individual how to solve those problems in a way they can live with it. For me, in the beginning, I did join any kind of nomikai or lunch with my colleagues. And I I tried to find something on the menu. Would it be edamame or fries? So I held back a lot. But as I grew in the vegan journey, I also grew more confidence in saying, I'm sorry, if I join you, let's go maybe to a place I will look up, or I don't join. And for me, that's fine, right? But of course, there are people who might not be fine, or they can't stand when people eat meat together, which I totally understand. But for me, this is where I kind of draw the line. I'm like, okay, if we can maybe at least go to a place where I can also eat something, that would be great.
Yeah. I remember when I first went to Japan and I was not a fan of the food either. I was a very picky eater. I remember everyone just eating all these different foods, and then here's me with my little bowl of French fries. I understand that totally.
Yeah, it is a challenge, but I think if you can be very friendly about it and say, hey, guys, I found this great restaurant with vegan options. Can we please go there? And in my experience, people are actually open to try the food as well. So
that's great.
They do try the vegan option and they're like, oh, I didn't know it's that tasty. So many people haven't even considered or even tried vegan food. So of course, if you can show them that it is possible, as opposed to going to a random place and then, as you said, eating on the fries, which might not even be vegan because they're fried in any animal fats. We don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
So, yeah. But that's why even if you live here, just do your research. I have a Google Maps list with tons of places all over Japan. I'm using it daily just to check my surroundings. So you can definitely find a way that way.
Oh, that is so good to hear. Yeah, because I remember being in Kyoto, because that's usually where I would station myself for work. I remember one of our faculty members had he wasn't vegan, but he had many, many dietary restrictions. And so it was actually easy to just be like, we're going to a vegan place so that way we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and we found this vegan curry shop in Kyoto. And it was Japanese curry. It was so good, actually. I was highly impressed. And then they had these cute cakes that were vegan that you could have at the end. And I just had a great time. I have no idea if that restaurant is still there, but it was great.
I will find it out. It sounds tasty. I want to try whenever I go to Kyoto next.
Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier, that there are many dishes in Japan that may look vegan at first glance, but we've said, actually are hiding ingredients that may make it non-vegan.
Yes.
Can you give us a short list of what these dishes are so that way people can kind of be careful for it when they do travel to Japan?
Yes, I can do that. I do have a lot of resources on my Instagram as well, so please check that as well. But one thing I can say for sure are the onigiri, the rice balls. Yes. And I have to admit, I had a lot of them myself, even after becoming vegan. So
oh, really?
It is very, very tricky since the ingredients are not listed fully.
You're right, they're not.
Yes. The thing is that the plum onigiri, for example, or the seaweed onigiri, it doesn't list fish extract. So I found out by contacting the customer service and asking them, hey, is there any katsuo dashi in this product? And they said yes. But according to labeling law in Japan, They don't have to list all the ingredients. And what they write on there is just flavoring.
Oh, enhanced flavoring.
Yeah, so they only write flavoring on top of the ingredients.
Oh.
So we don't even know what is in there. And fish dashi is usually not considered an allergen. And even if something is considered an allergen, there is a threshold. If it's below the allergen, threshold, they don't have to write it on the packaging, which of course can be very, very difficult for people. So
Yeah.
I would recommend to do as much research as you can. But if you use, for example, Google Translate camera function, which is very helpful, by the way, but if you look at a plum onigiri, it will not tell you that there is fish inside.
Yeah, because
Right?
I didn't even know.
So,
I actually
yes,
thought that was vegan. So like, oh my
exactly.
gosh.
Me too. So, and it is one of these go-to foods many vegans eat. Plum onigiri,
Yeah.
inari sushi. You know, inari sushi, the ones with
Mm-hmm.
the tofu. But the thing is that the tofu itself is flavored with a
Oh,
specific dashi mixture, and in 99.9% it contains fish.
oh my gosh.
Yes. So, of course, well, I mean, if you eat something like that, it is still fine. It doesn't make you less vegan, right? Especially if you're traveling and it's the only thing you can have. Please have it anyway. But of course, to have the knowledge is very, very crucial, in my opinion, because
Yes.
I would not want to eat that anymore. When I didn't know, I
Mm.
ate it,
Or
obviously.
or if you have a kitchen, make it yourself.
Exactly,
Right? Right?
exactly. Yeah, so of course it makes it very hard. So, as I said, any kind of onigiri will most likely contain fish. The only ones safe so far are the plain white rice bowls. However, they're sometimes sold out. So
Mm.
maybe you have to buy the microwavable rice and make
Right.
your own onigiri, as you just said too. And what else? The soy milks. You know, there are lots of these nice little soy milk packs.
Yeah.
Make sure to check the ingredients because sometimes they do contain like shellfish calcium, for example, or vitamin D derived from any kind of animal ingredient. So it technically is not vegan. So make sure to check that. Another thing is the white sugar in Japan. This is personally where I draw the line. I still eat processed food with sugar. The thing is that how they process the white sugar in Japan is still very old school. So they use
Uh-huh.
bone char to make the sugar white.
Really?
Even non-white sugar is maybe processed with bone char. So it's very, very difficult to find out. So there's no way of knowing unless you contact the manufacturer. But of course, the company making the product is changing manufacturers frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way of knowing. So if you want to avoid sugar, then you can't buy any processed foods in that sense, unless it's
Yeah.
maybe certified organic, because then the chance is higher that it's
Right. That's not
non-processed.
processed. Yeah.
Yeah, but as I said, I personally draw the line there. For me, if a product doesn't have any visible animal products, I will eat it unless I know better in
Yes, of
case of
course.
the plum onigiri. Yeah, I mean, the definition of veganism is try your best as you can as far as
Exactly.
practical in your day. So I think don't be too hard on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There is a challenge, but well, you want to enjoy life at some point too. So yeah, but knowledge is the key. Try to get as much information beforehand as possible.
Yeah, that is super helpful. Wow. Those are some foods that I would have never expected to have any kind of hidden ingredients in. So
Yeah.
I learned something new today.
Good.
And I'm glad you mentioned the whole everyone has their own how far they'll cross that line or not. Because I've encountered students who are super strict. I'm on this kind of dietary needs. I need to be vegan, won't make exceptions. And then I have students that are like, I am vegan, but I know I'm going to Japan. I know it's hard. I may have to make adjustments and I'm okay with that. So I'm glad that you mentioned the differences between people and what people will do. I think for our listeners, if you can make some exceptions or go easy on yourself, please be forgiving on yourself if you need to. That's most important. Especially since you're visiting Japan, you don't know if you're going to be visiting again if this is your first time. So really enjoy your time. Don't stress yourself out over something like a plum onigiri.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, for most vegans, it's important to remember the why. Why am I vegan? Why am
Exactly.
I doing this, right? And for me,
Yeah.
it's about the animals. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
cause avoidable hardships on animals. So I will try my best to avoid anything that is unnecessary. That also includes going to any zoo or aquarium or animal cafes. I think this is another
Yeah.
big topic maybe people don't think about because, well, animal cafes are very cute, right? You can see maybe a nice owl and you feed
Yeah,
an
it's a very
owl.
Japan thing. Well, maybe not just Japan. I feel like it's an Asia thing.
Yeah, perhaps. But there has been an increase. I've seen like people going to the Zhao Fox Village, for example,
Oh,
because they can
yeah.
see foxes roaming freely and are then very disappointed to see chained up foxes and foxes being forced to live in a cage only to be taken out if they want to take a picture with the fox, right? So I think this is another step besides food. I would really like people to think about, especially if you're just visiting Japan, make sure to do some research. Is it really ethical to go to these places and who does it benefit? Is it for your benefit or are the animals having fun, right? So
Mm,
this is something I would like to throw out here as well to
yeah.
people to consider that as well on their journey. And I think Japan has a lot to offer in terms of if you go to the mountains, if you go to the seas, there's a lot to see.
Mm-hmm.
Pun not intended. If you go to the ocean. So I would recommend not going to any kind of animal attractions which are obvious. Of course, there are sometimes, sadly, if you go to a shopping mall, there is like a random cage with an animal in there. This is nothing you can do
You're
about,
right.
right?
Because I went to a
So,
shopping mall in like Kyoto, and for some reason there was this. I don't even know what animal it is, honestly. It looks like some kind of like aquatic lizard, and it was like in a tank of water. And I'm like, what are you doing outside this shop that clearly sells clothes? Like, why are you here?
exactly, it's very random. So this is something you cannot avoid and you cannot do anything about.
Yeah.
However, you have the choice of not supporting businesses which obviously exploit animals, such as
Mm-hmm.
any kind of animal cafes, like a penguin cafe, owl cafe, exotic animal cafe, right? So I really, really urge people to not go there. And hopefully, maybe one day we can have, nothing like that anymore in Japan. That would be great.
And, speaking of going out into Japan, for visitors who decide to go outside of Tokyo, but maybe even for those who are staying in Tokyo and decide to like do day trips and stuff, what kind of travel advice can you give regarding being vegan when they're traveling outwards?
Plan around the eateries, plan around the restaurants.
Oh, I get
So,
what you're saying. Yeah.
yes. So basically, if you say you want to go to Hakone, make sure to check first, are there vegan restaurants? Are they open that day? Because Google Maps doesn't always tell you if they're open. It's not always accurate. Even though it says they're open, usually the
Uh-huh.
businesses are very small and they might be randomly closed, right? So
Right.
make sure to check. If you can, call ahead, make a reservation, but also check their Instagram or Facebook, whatever they have, to make sure they're open. Have a plan B in case the place is
Yeah.
still closed. Have a plan B. Uh, take some food with you and plan around it. So I always carry like a cereal bar with me or any kind of like
Mm.
raisins, something If
Yeah.
I'm like really hungry and I feel my blood sugar going down, that I have something to snack on in urgent cases. But it's always good to plan ahead and plan accordingly because, yeah, as we mentioned earlier, if you go out in the countryside, there are fewer options and there might be convenience stores, but as we learned, we can't be sure if they have anything edible in terms of like rice bowls. They will have plain rice, most likely, and some salad packs,
Right. Yeah.
but just be prepared accordingly, especially
Yeah,
if you
because
have day
like
trips.
7-Eleven has the most delicious vegetable sticks. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. But the mayonnaise is not vegan, obviously.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so you can eat the sticks, but
yeah.
maybe not the
Sticks, no dressing for
mayonnaise.
you.
Exactly. And you don't want to be hangry on your trip.
Of course.
Yeah, just make sure you pack accordingly and do research.
Good advice. Good advice. Now, before we end our interview today, I want to do something fun and talk about your favorites.
Great.
So, yes. So, if you could tell us your favorites of various things, your ichiban, your number one for these categories. First being, what's your favorite Japanese dish?
Good question. I mean, of course, obviously, I have many favorite dishes,
Don't we
but
all?
it's hard to decide. But I do love tendon, which is
Tendon.
basically tempura on rice. However,
Yes.
this is not always vegan. So tempura
Mm-hmm.
batter usually has egg, but they can make it without egg too. So if you go to the very famous tempura chain called Tenya, their
Yes.
tempura batter doesn't use eggs. However, of course, cross-contamination in the frying oils.
Oh my gosh.
However, if you are okay with that, you can eat delicious tempura on rice without the
Mm-hmm.
sauce. Don't order the sauce. Bring your own. Bring your own soy sauce.
Shove it in your bag, shove it in your purse, and discreetly
Exactly.
bring it out.
Exactly. If you feel uncomfortable doing that, you can tell the waiter that you would like to only have soy sauce. Can they just take the sauce off and bring you
Yeah,
soy
yeah.
sauce? This is usually not a problem if you ask very politely. But yeah, fried vegetables
Tendon,
are.
so
I
good.
love tempura. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So I
Good
would say
choice.
天ぷらは一番好きです。
Ah, yes. All right. Now, one of my favorite questions, because I love sweets.
Me
What is your
too.
favorite Japanese dessert?
Many,
I know,
but
right?
if I would have to choose, I would say yatsuhashi. I don't know if
Oh,
you know
really?
yatsuhashi.
Yes.
There are two types. One is nama yatsuhashi and one is yatsuhashi, which is basically baked with cinnamon. It's very, very crunchy. Once you start eating, you can't stop. Very, very tasty. And the ingredients are very vegan friendly. So this is usually a vegan by default
Yeah.
sweets because it's just like the glutinous rice
Mm-hmm.
mochi-like consistency with cinnamon.
Yeah.
If you have nama yatsuhashi, the raw yatsuhashi, it's kind of like really mochi mochi, and in there it's sweet red bean paste, which is usually also vegan friendly. Absolutely love it. You can buy a lot of it in Kyoto, especially.
Yep.
But make sure if it's kind of like a variation of nama yatsuhashi with different ingredients, different flavors, like, I don't know, strawberry, whatever they have, check the ingredients because they do sometimes contain dairy or eggs as well.
Oh, okay. Good
But
point.
they
Good
label
point.
it, so
Yeah.
that's good. Finally, something's labeled.
Now, I know that your answer for this next one is probably a place in Tokyo, since that's where you live. But what is your favorite Japanese restaurant?
Yes, you are correct. It's in Tokyo. It's called Saido. They use
Saido.
the Japanese kanji for yasai, vegetable, and do for michi, the way. So the way of the vegetable, Saido.
I love it.
Yeah, it's located in Jiyugaoka area, so a little bit off the city center.
Yeah.
They have really, really, really good food. I think they veganized some Japanese food, such as grilled eel unagi, and I personally like that dish a lot. It is a very, very small restaurant, so it's better to call if you can and reserve prior.
Okay.
Because they have limited seatings.
Ah, okay. Thank you for letting us know that. Yes, of course.
Yes.
And then our last favorite, what is your favorite meal to cook in Japan?
That's also a very, very good question. So besides gnocchi, I do like to cook soba.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it is not really a traditional recipe I'm using, but I think it's a very easy and quick to make food or dish. And I do add a lot of vegetables in there and lots of tofu together with the soba noodles. It's perfect. So I do like making this as dinner.
Just for my personal knowing, hot or cold soba?
It depends. Usually it's more hot.
Okay, that's what I need to
However,
know.
yeah.
I'm in favor of hot soba. Just
Okay,
saying,
yes.
people. Just
Good, good,
saying.
good. Yeah. No, if I cook myself, it's usually hot soba. But
Mm.
however, if you're traveling, I would recommend to order saru soba, the cold soba, because then you can say you don't want the tsuyu, which is the sauce which comes with it, because 99.9% it contains fish.
Of
And then you
course.
can, yeah, and then you can ask for shoyu. Can you give me some soy sauce? And then mix it with
Yeah.
water and just dip the noodles in there. Because
Yeah.
if it's hot soba, 99.9%, it contains fish extract.
Good point. Well, that concludes our questions for this interview. I am so happy you were able to grace us with your knowledge and advice. I think our listeners who plan to travel to Japan, whether it's their first time or they'll travel again, I hope that they are better equipped with this information so that way they're able to enjoy their Japan trip and not have to worry about hidden things and where to go. So I'm really glad you could bring attention to this for us. But before we end the episode, I want to give you the opportunity to shout out all of your things, whether it's you have a website, all your social media, and I even know you have a digital guidebook. So I definitely want you to shout out that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. It's good talking about the topic of being vegan in Japan because I do know the struggle. I've been there. So I also, as you just mentioned, I decided to make a vegan guide ebook for people. This is all my knowledge from the past 8 years of being vegan and struggling in Japan. There are a couple of resources as well, which you can check. But this is basically the ultimate vegan guide for Japan, as I named it. And it's one of my passionate projects. I wrote it within a couple of months, and I thought this is everything I want people to know. This is not only food, it also contains an animal ingredient dictionary. But besides that, more a deep dive of like zoos and aquariums, like ethical experiences with animals, how to shop vegan, which is not only covering food, but also clothing or any kind of cosmetics, right? So I try to really put in as much information as I can. It also includes a favorite list of restaurants in bigger cities, but also like Okinawa, Hokkaido, Kyushu. So
Oh,
there's,
nice.
I try to be as all-rounding as possible for that one. And I am trying to keep the vegan guide up to date as much as possible. I just made some adjustments a couple of days ago. So 26th of March, I believe, or 27th of March.
Okay.
So it will always be as accurate as possible. If you check this out, it of course always means the world to me if people actually buy my product, and I have lots of good feedback. If there's anything you're missing in this guide, I'm very, very happy to hear about it and add this topic as well. Other than that, I have a lot of freebies as well, like the restaurant card. And a shopping list for people to live here. I have a vegan nutrition guide because I'm a nutritionist, of course. There's something for people who are curious about that as well. But other than that, follow my Instagram, itadakihealthy. which is in English for those who are interested in maybe learning a bit more Japanese or supporting my smaller channel. I do have a Japanese channel, itadakihealthy _JPN, which is about vegan or plant-based nutrition in Japanese, because of course I want to educate Japanese locals about plant-based diet as well and the vegan lifestyle. So any follow is highly appreciated, because that means I get more reach and I can reach more Japanese locals and educate them.
Yes, listeners, please follow. I follow her on Instagram, and let me just say, it's some good stuff.
Thank you.
I know you have a Japanese account. I've seen it. And let me just say, I always tell people, like, if you're studying Japanese, study vocabulary that you want to use and you want to understand. So I feel like if you are vegan, this is perfect because you want to know those vocabulary words, right?
So do I. No, that's a very, very good point. Because of course we don't talk about nutrition or veganism on a daily basis in Japanese, perhaps. So it's a learning experience for me too. So I'm still learning these kind of words, but I think you're completely right. These are things we should definitely learn. So if anyone is interested in listening to me talking in Japanese, which is not perfect, but I try my best. But yeah, please follow me there too. That would mean a lot to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'll be sure to link all of that in our show notes for our listeners to go check it out. And thank you so much for coming on. I am so happy I finally got to do this episode. I feel accomplished. That's all I need to do in season 6. Oh my gosh. So you are a lifesaver.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate the time as well and the invitation. And I was really happy being here. If there are any follow-up questions, let me know.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And that's it. A huge thank you to Leonore for joining us and sharing her expertise on being vegan in Japan. As a certified vegan nutritionist, she really had a lot of great advice and recommendations. Be sure to check her out on her social media and resources in the show notes. We hope you were able to learn enough to travel comfortably in Japan while keeping to the vegan lifestyle. And of course, thank you, our amazing listeners. Whether you are new to the crew this season or you've been with us since the beginning, we're excited to have you along for the ride. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and drop a review on your favorite podcast platform. Every single one of those 5-star ratings and reviews helps others interested in Japan and this kind of content find the podcast. Or hey, maybe just let a friend know about us. Any and all support is incredibly appreciated. Are you vegan and have traveled to Japan? Share your story with us on social media. We're on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. All the social medias. Just search for Krewe of Japan podcast to stay in the loop with future episodes, any upcoming Japan Society events, and Japan-related content. That's KREWEOFJAPAN. Or maybe you want to reach out directly. Send us an email at krewofjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. And that's it for today. Until next time.
Looking to start your own podcast and don't know what platform to use? Tell me about it. When we started the Krewe of Japan podcast, we tried a bunch of the big name recording platforms, but always came back to the one we're still currently using to this day, Zencastr. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. In addition to its high audio and video quality for podcast production, Zencastr provides a full suite of production tools to record, produce, and publish studio quality content from the comfort of your home. Just log in through your browser and start recording. It's that simple. For us, we simply send out links to our guests and they join the lobby. But before you know it, it's all done and you have your studio quality audio and up to 4K video right there ready for you, right when you finish. The best part is having their multi-layered backups to ensure that your recordings are in the highest quality, regardless of anyone's internet connection stability. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcasts in one place and distribute to all the major destinations. It's really that easy. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CREWOFJAPAN, KREWEOFJAPAN, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's your time to share your story.